So I think it probably goes without saying that as a business owner, one of the most valuable things to you is your time. We're always trying to figure out ways that we can buy back more time, we can save time, we can basically, we're trying to find more time in our day. With that in mind, we're going to go through a video today where we're going to evaluate different calendar apps on the market to see which one works best for you to help you take back some of that time. With so many different calendar apps on the market today, I felt it was important that we shrink down the list to 3 specific choices to start our review process. We're going to start those off with Acuity is the first one, Calendly, and then finally OnceHub, also used to be known as Schedule Once. So I recently started to look at my own workflow within my own company and evaluate the different pieces of technology that we're currently using. Full disclosure for this video, I've been using Acuity now for many years, but I wanted to evaluate and make sure the features and functionality of this app still stand the test of time and are still valid for what I want to be doing now in 2023. So during this first part of the video, what we're going to do is we're going to go through and evaluate what each of these different apps look like at the free level. So if you're just opening up an account, trying it out, what you get without having to pay. Right off the bat, it's important to note that with Acuity, they will give you a 7-day free trial, but they do not actually offer a free service. So you're going to end up having to pay right away. I'm going to switch over screens here, and the first thing I want to be able to kind of show is what the booking page can look like on these different services. So the first one we'll take a look at is our Calendly. With Calendly, when you're using their free version, what you're seeing on the screen is what it would look like. You're going to have your branding, of course, powered by Calendly at the top here, and you're only going to be able to set up one type of an event. So as here, I've got my introductory call. You can put your own image on it. You can choose the different colors you want to show here, but there's not much that you can do to really customize and expand it. Their layout does still look phenomenal. I really do like it. So it looks good on a website if you want to embed it there. You do have that option still at the free version, or you can just give a person a link straight to it and they can access it from that side. Now, the next version I want to show is OnceHub. With OnceHub, even under their free version, you can set up multiple different event types. And I really liked the fact that you can also add these different images in. That's one thing that I found Calendly doesn't allow you to do. So you can have an image for your brand or your company, but you can't do these individual little icons to really demonstrate the difference. Now, as I set all of these up, I've tried to basically take the same content into each one of them exactly the same so we can show you case by case what they're looking like. I love the fact that I can have an image of the phone here versus a webcam being a Zoom, and then my picture at the bottom, and even having it set to where this can be a paid meeting still at the free level. So we can compare the different features and functions at that free level in comparison to some of the paid levels. Let's go ahead and jump back over to the pricing pages of these different applications. So again, very quickly, as we stated before, Acuity does not offer a free version. They'll give you a 7-day trial, but there isn't actually a free ongoing version. We'll circle back to this as the third one here. So we start off with Calendly. The functionality that we've got, of course, you guys can go visit the website, see their pricing and such, but the standard things that basically all of these apps are going to have of some sort is you're going to be able to connect to a calendar. That's going to be your Google Calendar, your Microsoft Office, Office 365, iCloud calendars, so forth. With the free version, you're able to connect one calendar for a person, basically, and you only have one person. In the free version, you get to have one event. So that's what I was showing you before, where I had just the one type of a meeting, and you'll still have the branding of Calendly on there, but it's only just the one event itself. Now, that event can have the ability, of course, of sending out email notification as a confirmation for the meeting coming up, but they don't give you the same ability of doing the follow-up after email until you start stepping up a little bit higher in plan. So as you look at some of the functionalities here, Even at the free side, you can, of course, do an unlimited number of one-to-one meetings. So it's not like you're limited to the number of things you can do. You can just continue to make them, no problem. You'll have your booking link, of course, and you're going to be able to do the unlimited number of like meeting polls and one-off quick meetings. So automated event notification, we talked about that as well. Then you'll see through a lot of this, like the integrations, everything else, you're really having to step up to essentials or above. We know you can put the calendar onto your website. We know that you'll be able to link to your video software platforms such as Google Meet, Zoom, of course, is a big one, GoToMeeting, Microsoft Teams, WebEx, so forth. And it has, one thing I did like about Calendly is they have a lot of different integrations you can connect to, but only some of those when you start getting up higher to the paid versions. You can connect to Slack, so that's popular for a lot of people, Intercom as you're seeing here. But those are the primary ones right away. For customization, which is something that's important to me, you can do your own branding to the idea of you can basically put your logo on there, but you can't customize your colors and you can't remove that Calendly logo until you go to a higher level to the professional team side of it. And then team-wise, again, because of the free one, you really don't have any team members, so it's just you. Once you get to that professional level, you can start adding on even more integrations to like HubSpot, Marketo, Salesforce, so forth. So if we compare that now to OnceHub, we can take a look at basically what they're looking at for free. So OnceHub, there's again, what's a big difference is you can actually have up to 3 users. You can have up to 3 booking pages, chatbots, and forms into it for the information you want to be collecting. Calendly, you can do some basic forms, but there's not much at that initial level. You can do as many scheduled meetings as you want, and then that live engagement. Live engagement's a pretty cool functionality that's only with OnceHub. That's where you can have a pop-up on your website, and people can request to make a meeting with you right then and there. So depending on the service offering you're doing, you may actually only want to have that like on a hidden page, so you don't have just people popping in and trying to do a meeting whenever they want, of course. Personal dynamic links, again, that's something across every one of them that pretty much do that. Single-use links, that way somebody's not reusing it, just eating up your time. You can give them a single click and use it, of course. Create your profile, team availability for multiple people. And then with a lot of these, you can, I believe Calendly, you can do this as well. You can limit the number of meetings that'll happen per day. You can also set up, your hours of time that you're able to work, scheduled time before and after each of the meetings. This is on all of these basically. But I like the idea that you can set up on these, like how many appointments max per day do you want? So maybe if it's like new client meetings, you only want to take 2-3 a day, so you're not overextending yourself, and you can push it out. And also, sometimes it's good to seem a little bit busier and make people have to schedule a couple days out. You can also, as it lets you do in there, you can choose how early can they set something up. Can they do it 15 minutes ahead of time, or does it have to be a full day ahead of time? With OnceHub, you immediately have the ability for SMS text for notifications and updates and reminders, as well as email, which looked great. I set up an appointment for myself and it came over to my phone. It looked phenomenal today. And then the OnceHub does a really good job with workflows. They're more advanced than the stuff with Calendly, but Calendly does workflows as well, as in like who gets an email. Do you send an email to a host? Do you send it to the guest? When do you do it? Customizing language into each one of those. But we'll get into all of that stuff here shortly. So we quickly went through and kind of talked about all of the things that are available at the free level. And as you go up to growth and even enterprise, growth is really their higher one unless you do something unique, you'll start to see basically everything starts to become unlimited, and it only starts at $10 per user per month. With that in mind, if we take a look at that in comparison to Calendly, I really feel like if you're going to compare them, you need to be looking at the professional version of Calendly or possibly the Teams version. So you're looking at that 12 per month or 16 per month comparison between the two. Going back to Acuity to be equivalent there, now we're talking about Acuity's paid version, where we're talking monthly instead of annual. The emerging is that first one. at $20 a month, if you do it monthly, you're talking basically one person. So one staff, one location. If you want to go up more, you're going to go to the growing plan, and then you can have up to 6 people. It's not, the difference being it's not per person. So the cost per person, if you used all 6, is actually less than everybody else's, but you'll be going up a little bit higher. Client self-scheduling, of course, all we talked about before. You're going to have the same idea of being able to use Google Meet, Zoom, GoToMeeting integrations. They've actually got probably the best selection of the different video platforms from what I saw there. And one thing I didn't touch base on all of them yet was the payment portals. So Acuity actually has the best connection-wise to be able to choose Stripe, Square, or PayPal for receiving payments for your meetings. Calendly is going to limit you down to PayPal and Stripe. OnceHub will give you PayPal and credit cards that you can do. So no Stripe, no Square on that. So it's really going to depend on which account you have, how you want to set that up. The integration wise, they all will be able to do something with Zapier, of course. And they will all have different connections they can do to different CRMs. But Acuity is really the only one that does a direct connection to QuickBooks Online and FreshBooks. So once that payment's been received, it will automatically create the invoice for you inside QuickBooks Online. Of course, with Zapier, you can accomplish these same kind of details as well. With Acuity also, they have the ability, you can sell subscriptions, memberships, gift certificates. You can bundle things together, do like appointment packages. So you sell them a package of 10 meetings and have the invoicing set up for it. You can even do recurring billing if you want for like courses, so forth. And this is something that's very specific to Acuity that I didn't see the same way in Calendly and OnceHub. Acuity also is at the higher levels can become HIPAA compliant, where the other ones I did not see that same functionality. Now the branding wise for Acuity, the powered by only goes away now at the highest level, at this powerhouse level. That's changed, didn't used to be that way. But you can still put your logos on, and you can do your own coloring, everything else that you would like there. I will real quickly, since we're talking about Acuity, let's go back and just show you again what the calendar page would look like. Functionality wise, Calendly and OnceHub, I kind of like the way those calendars work and the way people select things, but I will say that Acuity gives you a beautiful layout like this. Again, trying to make them look similar across all the different platforms. I can put my different images on here if I want to or not, put my own font in here. And what I really like with Acuity is in this information here that you're creating for the website, or even all of the email messages that go out to people, you have the ability for full HTML editing through it. So you can take and add your own picture as a header into it. You can hyperlink links into the email notifications. You can add attachments. There's a lot more that you can do with making it just look real pretty professional as you're sending those different communications. Again, we're going to dive into some of that here shortly. We'll show you how easy it is through each of these to actually create some of that stuff. So for the next thing we would do is start to actually kind of like jump in and take a look behind the scenes. What do the dashboards look like, and what's involved to really try to create that, your first appointment inside this. So let's start off with Acuity. And again, real quick, just a reminder, since I've been using this for many, many years, you're going to notice that there's already a whole bunch of different appointment types and such inside of here, which is great so you can see kind of what you can and can't do. But you will see like Calendly and OnceHub there's not quite as much stuff set up inside of it. So inside our dashboard, which is what we're looking at initially here, you're going to see off to the side here, of course, we've got our calendar clients. So as people are registering for things, it's going to capture their information there. So you can, add that to your CRM, add it to your mailing list, whatever you feel is appropriate. You do also have reporting to show, how many meetings you've had, how many people were no-show versus did show, so forth, the different meeting types, so you can get additional metrics to see, how those meetings are working out for you. Then for the scheduling page link side of it, you've got the ability, you can customize this, and this is pretty much the same across all of them, of course, to where you can do a direct link, you can embed it into a website, you can do a booking button or a booking bar. So on the website, basically you embed that button wherever you want, to make it to where they click it and it just would pop up the ability to get to your calendar. You can customize your appearance of all this stuff, full color selection onto it all, of course. You can choose between like a monthly template or a daily template. I personally didn't like the way the monthly template looked at myself, so I really enjoyed having more of that daily perspective. Again, you're going to see here the upgrade now. We used this in the past. We basically have downgraded, so you may see some of that stuff popping up, but you get the point. Business name, business industry. If you want to put it on there, we didn't. Put your logo onto things, and you'll notice on the side here, it's trying to give you a perspective of what these things would look like. You can add specialized instruction to onto your different scheduling calendar. Choose when the week starts, of course, your time format, your coloring, and your font. So this one really lets you play with font and colors. The other one's not quite so much. You can also, of course, do advanced CSS. So if you hire somebody to really finesse and fine tune this to match exact to your website, and you want to change the shaping and the background, everything else, you can hire somebody to do it. And this is the only one that really does that, does a phenomenal job. Scheduling options on here for Acuity, of course. You can set up to where they are required to give you a phone number or not. You can make it to where clients have to log into like this mini portal to register. You can hide durations, prices. You can set up different categories, show how many spots you have left. So if you want to make it have something where people feel like they have to get in right away, you can limit the number of people, of course, and so forth. If I come back to my home here, then we would come down into, let's talk about like the availability and what the different appointment types would look like. So inside of here, I've got 3 different calendars set up. And you can do these different calendars a lot of different ways. It could be a different calendar for a different person, or what we did is we had like one calendar for our company, and then in that calendar we had different appointments for different people. Then we had, for myself, a unique calendar or different ones for project as you're basically seeing through this. When you come in, each of the calendars can also then have unique work hours established, or the times that people can choose from. This is great, but it also can get very complicated is what I found. So trying to set up and determine, hey, when do I want people to be able to reach and connect to me on this stuff? And as you probably can see through some of this, there you have the ability, you can do like splits in the day. So maybe first 3 hours of the day, take a split out, and then later on. So you can really finesse and tune this just the way you want, and then you add your different appointment types on to those different type of calendars and those schedules. The different calendars concept like that you can basically do across all of them, but we'll show you the others shortly. Then your appointment types, these are the different types of appointments that you would set up. So as an example, I've got under myself, I can have a direct scheduling link just to this group, so all 3 of them would show up, which is kind of what I was showing you before, or you could do a hierarchy where it shows all of these things. This is great if you're going to have like different team members that have their own meetings. You can then create the different link, embed it on different pages, maybe their own about page, so they can go straight to that person's calendar. And because you can connect to multiple calendars, you can make sure that each one's connected to their own calendar, so booking wise, and you're not blocking each other for available time wise. We did run into challenges on the setup, just being a little frustrating of like when we had a shared calendar, trying to make it to where how can we have appointments available for both of us to be available regarding even the stuff we had on a normal calendar. So you're going to end up setting up like a unique calendar for your company if you're trying to do that, so you're not always feeling like everything's blocked. You can customize those links, of course, but as we go into creating one of these, it's pretty easy to set up. So you're going to have a name that you can put into this and a description. And this stuff is what's going to show up, of course, inside of this right away. You have the ability, so this is what I was talking about briefly earlier, where the message is shown on a confirmation page or even emails, that you can actually do full HTML. So what I mean by that is you can come in and you can really finesse and fine tune. You can do hyperlinks, you can pull images into there. And I find having this ability, sometimes it's even easier if you need to copy and paste from one to the other and keep the exact same look. This makes it really easy to do that. Set up your durations, of course, through all of this. So, how long is the meeting? How much time do you want to block off before and how much time after? Whether you're going to be charging for it or not. And then if you want to create the different categories also. Your color coding, just so you can see them a little bit better on calendars, whether you want a picture on there or not, and whether it should be a public or private meeting. Public means they can see it. Private, they'd actually have to have direct access to this unique link for this one type of appointment. Then one of the things Acuity also does extremely well, you can choose which calendars are available on, and then their forms. So as somebody requests an appointment, it will then pop up and ask you to fill out a form. So let's go through kind of showing what I'm talking about here. This would pop up, give me one of my times to choose. We'll just select this and we'll go continue. You can do reoccurring if I want on there, as you saw, and you can turn again that stuff on and off. So now I have these different questions that I want them to fill in before they start to meet with me. This is great if it's an initial meeting for a client and you need to go through and you want to capture extra details so you really know what the meeting's about ahead of time. So let's jump over now to Calendly and look at a lot of the same functionality there and see how some of that stuff works. So as we come in, again, this is your basic dashboard that you would see within Calendly. I have not paid for this yet, so we'll see at the bottom here, hey, you can do more with the paid version of it. But we'll show you basically when you're creating a different meeting. So if I come in and click into this specific one, I'll click and go edit, we're going to see how this layout looks. What event is this for? So I'm going to create my label, name it there, and then I'm going to get to choose what my location is going to be. So in this scenario, I chose a phone call. There's in-person phone call, Meet, Zoom, Teams, all the things we talked about before, even custom. So I set it up to be a phone call, which I really liked. And then you can put on there whether I'm going to call them or they should be calling me. I set that up, but I also recommend, just to be on the safe side, put extra details in your description like, hey, we're going to give you a call on the number you provided us. I do like that at least in here you can do a little extra bolding, you can still do hyperlinks, you can play with some of the formatting so you can do bullet points and such, but you are really limited. You can't do like extra images or any of that HTML stuff that you can do with Acuity. So you're going to have to decide if that's important to you or not. Keep in mind with Calendly, they keep these nice clean little boxes for each appointment, so I kind of see why. You can create your own custom link for these, so you don't have to have such a long link. Name it whatever you wish, and then choose your colors across here to be able to save it. Like Acuity and basically all of them, you're going to have the ability to choose when people can schedule these. So how far in advance are they able to book your time? I've set it up to be, hey, 10 calendar days into the future. But you can also say within a date range or just fully indefinitely. I think it's important to kind of squeeze it down. If you leave it too wide open, you might find yourself having to cancel meetings later on if you forgot to put your vacation on your calendar or so forth. You're going to choose how long the meeting is, of course, and then you've got different choices for hours. So when you're doing initial setup, you can have a schedule. This is my working hours. And you can use that, or you can set up a secondary schedule or use custom hours. That will then make it to where you choose what days are available or not. And then, of course, down below, as we talked about before, time before an event and time after an event. I strongly recommend for people that you're using these, always put time after an event that is going to give you time to do the follow-up action items. You're going to know what you really need time-wise. But traditionally after a meeting, you're going to have some kind of, create some to-dos, tasks for yourself, maybe follow-up email, so forth, add notes. Don't forget to book that out. Super, super important so you don't have back-to-back appointments. It's just going to kill your day. And then your additional rules, availability-wise, right? So the start times on this. This is neat. So you can basically, if it's a 15-minute appointment, do you want it to show up every 15 minutes as an option? And then you have tons of things there. Or maybe you only want to do it once an hour, 30 minutes. You can choose what that looks like. And then you can also choose, like, how soon can they do it? So they can't schedule within, for me, 1 day. So that way I don't have to worry about somebody popping on without connecting to me and me saying, okay, that same day. I want it to be at least 1 day out, with a maximum here of 4 appointments of this day. So if you have multiple calendar types, that means, or event types, I should say, you could say, I want a maximum of 4 of these and a maximum of 2 of those. And that means it would balance all of those onto there. Automatically detect and show the time. This is super important. So you want to be able to, people are always going to look at it in their own time zone, but you're creating your stuff in your time zone. So having that set up, again, most of these will do that. You want to make sure so there's no confusion of, are we talking East Coast, West Coast, so forth. And then this one, this is how you would make it private by clicking this make it a secret event. The questions, same kind of idea as Acuity. You've got some basic questions that you can be filling in here, and then you can add on new questions as well. So whether it's a one line, multiple line, radio buttons, checkbox, drop down, phone number. I like the phone number one. It's such an OCD thing. It formats it like a phone number. I really, really like the way that works. Such an OCD thing, but I love it. You can reorganize them the way you want, make them necessary questions or not. So you don't want to bombard people with tons of questions here, but be sure to capture information that you need. And keep in mind with all these, when you're asking certain questions, if you are doing stuff with like Zapier, these bits of information can be zapped to different places, to a CRM, to a accounting platform, wherever you might need that stuff. And then the workflows part of it. So workflows are great. I believe this, if I remember correctly, workflows really are at that higher paid level. What this basically is doing is it's giving you the ability to add additional notifications. So you can send text message out to people, to yourself or the guests, email reminders, follow up after the fact email, and you customize each individual one. Take the time to do it. You know, if you're going to send a reminder to somebody a day ahead and 15 minutes before, customize the language in each one so it doesn't seem like it's just on autopilot and doesn't look, it just looks bad if you don't spend that extra time doing that. Notification cancellation policies through here. I will say, if you're using these workflows and these notifications, be careful you don't cause duplication. Because if you're saying, hey, I want to turn on email reminders here and follow-ups, and you created a workflow here with those, you would actually end up sending double items. It will try to warn you and say, hey, you don't want to do that, of course. But just be cautious of that, of course. I've seen it happen very easily. And then the final confirmation page here, you can do just a traditional Calendly confirmation page, or you can redirect to an external site of your choice. So maybe you go back to your YouTube channel, a blog on your website, anything of that nature that you would like to do. You can do custom links, but you can see here, I have to upgrade the subscription, so that'd be a paid version for that. And then the payment methods here, again, requires an upgraded subscription. You have to be paying for it to do that. But now if you are charging for appointments, you can be paid before they get started, or even set up like it's a deposit aspect for it. It's a great way, especially if you're, you can have a free appointment, but if they're going to be taking your time, that barrier to entry, make them invest into you first before just, they just take up your time and do a no-show, of course. So going through that process, it's really easy to create the way that's going to look for you. If I come back here, we've already kind of shown you before what the calendar would look like, but this is the link that would show you your calendar to where you can embed it. And you'll notice this is colored because this one's active. These ones are inactive since I haven't paid yet. Your scheduled events, this will give you a listing of all the different events that are coming up, of course, pending ones, past, once they've gone past, and it will give you the information that you're asking through those forms. So you can see a person's name, their phone number, their email, and if you're asking, hey, what are we meeting about, that little snippet will be in there as well. So I always love to dive into this before I jump into a meeting so I can see what are we going to be talking about, have a better concept of it, of course. Then your workflows, we talked about that before, but they have different templates and examples that you can take a look at here, and you can create templates for yourself as well. Now the routing part of it has to do with, there's a couple things here. So if you have multiple team members, how is that information going to go into the different apps? So maybe they're meeting with one of your sales team. How does that go into your Salesforce for the ownership of it, third-party forms, your CRM, so forth. So with a paid subscription, you can do more of this as well. while we're here, let's quickly go to our integrations page. Like I was saying, Calendly does, I think this is one of the things they do best, is a huge list of things that they can integrate to. So API and webhooks, all of these will do that. That's basically, if you're not using like a Zapier, you can use a webhook, which is once an activity happens, it creates this little webhook. You can use that to grab and extract information from and send it to some other program as well. Your different calendar types, the different browsers you can use, of course, email, you'd expect that, LinkedIn messaging, MailChimp, Metapixel. So this is something I didn't talk about with Acuity, but Acuity and Calendly both do a great job on tracking pixels, so Google Analytics and Metapixel, so you can recognize like how many people are using this, what's their demographic, what do they look like, so kind of like you would do for your website. OnceHub has something like this, but it's not quite as straightforward. You have to know how to grab and put that into a certain area. We'll go over that later. Additional app integrations here as well. All of these can integrate to your different websites. So whether it's a WordPress, Wix, Squarespace, they have different methods of connecting to embed this stuff onto that site also. So again, one of my favorite things when I'm talking about Calendly is a lot of those integrations and the cleanliness of how it looks, just laid out with your different appointment types. So now let's jump over to OnceHub and let's take a look at what their product is basically looking like. As you can see here, so this is their dashboard. Their dashboard right off the bat is definitely the most engaging. It makes you want to look around and figure out like, what is all this stuff about? What's inside of here? Again, we've got the ability that you can do scheduled meetings or those live engagements I talked about. I've only set up the scheduled meetings, which is why we're only seeing the check mark there. So on my dashboard, I've only created one meeting myself, and when that meeting is supposed to be happening is actually, here in the near future, as we can see, scheduled meeting at that time. On the side, contact, same idea on all of these. You're going to have a way to capture contact information, when it was, click into it to get those extra details, and all this stuff can be exported. You can click to email out of it. This is a big part of these calendar apps is you want to be building up your customer list, those connection points, of course. Activity wise, this will tell you what's been happening through, if you have multiple people inside here, if there's different form submissions, bot conversations, all of that would show up inside of here. So now if we go over to our booking page, and this is really what we've been looking at with these different applications, so we can go, compare apples to apples. Same scenario here. I've basically created 3 different event types, and these 3 event types are on a booking page for me, so I can have a booking page for each person, which would then go up to that master page as well. So let's click onto this here. We can dive in, and we're going to see right off the bat the different types of events that are associated with my page. You can customize this all, of course, right? So now if I dive in to a specific meeting, we've got on the sides of all of this, the stuff that we would be looking at. So I've chosen, this is the overall details of it. If I come to my public content, this is where I create my name. I create the information that goes into the description. And what you're going to notice here, I don't have any real adjustment capability on this. It still looks good, but I can't bold anything. No HTML. You type it in, and what you see is what you get. But you can do the images, which I like that as a trade-off. So it looks really, really nice. Again, what we're talking about is how does that look here is what we're looking at. So if we looked in further, look at time slots, this will then pull up and give us the ability to choose different days and the times we would want to select. Go through here, same idea of the different questions. I can change and add this stuff on, add the mobile phone, so forth. So inside of this, on each of these different calendars, the way you go in from here is this is how you do your scheduling options. Again, they can do automatic booking, or you have to approve it every single time, your choice, whether it's a single session or session package, and they have to book X number of sessions. Whether it's a one-on-one session or a group session. So group being, you could have up to 5 people joining, however you want to set these type of things up. Your time slots, again, how long is it for? What are the different start times? I kind of like this with the checkboxes just because I could easily go, I want it on the even and the 30 and that's it. So, and I want time slots at least 30 minutes apart, making it super easy, of course. Your buffer time we talked about before. So before meeting, after meeting, how many days, the number of bookings per day, how many per week, if you even wanted to limit that. And then, the rules like how soon. So before an event, 1 day, I did this across all of them that way. No more than 10 days. Time zone conversion stuff we talked about before to make it easier. And then the number of time slots offered per day so you don't get overwhelmed by too many. Booking form, we saw that real quickly, but you can edit the form and add your own on. With the higher paid growth feature version, you can fully customize this form. So you can change the look of it, the coloring, you can add extra URLs onto it, add extra questions, and create those templates out of it to really fully customize it the way that you would want. Whether you want to use a OnceHub confirmation or your own custom one, you can do all that as well with that growth feature. Customer notifications. So again, with this, your initial one, you only get a small amount of SMS credits. So if you're really going to be trying to use the phone connection and so forth, you're going to want to upgrade to that next plan, that growth plan, and pay for that part. Bookings made by the customer can be emailed, SMS text, approval, calendar event, you can see all of these that you can customize the language that goes into them, how frequent they happen or not, reminder wise. Again, don't go crazy and do if you're doing 14 different reminders, you're gonna upset people. So usually 24 hours, 15 minutes is enough. And then I always like to do a follow-up afterwards. So default, create new templates. The new templates are if you upgrade to that next level, you'll be able to do that part. Payment-wise, as we talked about, you can do payments with these as well. This is kind of neat. So if you are charging for events, you can also set up a cancellation policy to where you capture and keep part of that money. If I come back here and I go to my 60-minute one, you'll see what that looks like. So I'm saying it's $150 for the hour, right? And if they cancel, they can only cancel 12 hours before, and they get 75% back. If it's less than 12 hours, they only get 25% back. You can customize the text that goes into it. You can do the same thing for rescheduling. If they reschedule, they lose 10%. If it's less than 12 hours, 20%. You can choose if you want to do all that or not. And whether you want them to explain, hey, why are you doing that cancellation also? All right, so let's go back actually to one of those booking types, and then on the side here we can see our different options we can do. And let's go to integration so we can show you, again, what our different integration capabilities are. So OnceHub, this is the area where I kind of feel like they're lacking, but as long as you're going to know whether you need this stuff or not. Calendars, they're going to hit all the majors out there. Again, Google, Office 365, Exchange, iCloud, so forth. Your video conferencing, it's going to be your Zoom, it's going to be your GoToMeeting, Teams, WebEx, so forth. And their CRM, so this is one that may be a killer for you. Their direct integration for CRMs are primarily Salesforce and Infusionsoft. So that means if you're using a different CRM, you're going to go the Zapier route. I love Zapier. It's not hard to set it up, but just keep that in mind. They do not connect to accounting platforms. You're going to be using Zapier for that. And as I had mentioned before, really the methods for payment, if you're accepting payments, going to be either PayPal and you can set up also for credit card, but it's also basically through your PayPal processing. API webhooks, we talked about that. It's the ability you can actually, if you've got a developer, you can do a custom API keys and have somebody code your integration to whatever piece that you already have inside there. So let's talk about chatbots. This is something only OnceHub has, right? And they've got a couple different templates that you can basically use. Let's do qualified live chat and see what their preview would be. So you'd put this pop-up that can be on your website, and you're going to have a bot. You can do the training, put the questions in. If you're going to use a bot, put the time and energy. Make sure it's a good one. There's nothing worse than having a bot that's a dumb bot. That's horrible. So take the time, create the content that would go inside of it. So would you like to learn more about our professional services? Yes, please. Boom. You guys get the gist of how bots, of course, work. So we'll close out of this. You can set the different questions that you want. customize the templates more. But again, the higher you go, the more you're going to be able to do. Higher you go subscription-wise, the more you'll be able to do. So if we look at the qualified instant call, let's look at a preview for that one. It's going to be the same idea with the bot, of course. Would you like to learn about our professional services? Yes, please. I guess we get lucky that it actually is saying for like payroll processing, everything else. I haven't set that up yet. So would you like to talk with somebody from our team? Yes, please. Boom. First, let's know your email address, so forth. So it's going to ask that information, and then it will link over to us with an AppWise to be able to say, hey, somebody wants to talk to you. I can do another video about this part later on once I get that all set up. Now, if we click the live engagement at the top here again, this is going to basically show you the dashboard of everything that's happening. So if I had set up to be accepting calls and chats, all of that information would be showing up inside this specific area. So one of the most important things we didn't really talk about through all of this is as you're trying to choose a different calendar, you really need to also be considering all the different apps that you're using and how that workflow is all going to come together. What I mean by that, as an example, I'm currently using 17 Hats as my CRM. It's my portal. So on my website, I've got my forms on there, and that's how people will send me an email, connect me, lead generation basically. And what I love about the app is it gives me the ability, I can set up some workflows where we'll do an automatic email, goes back to people, gives them a little PDF about our services, so forth. But then the next steps involved are going to be getting a hold of a person, connecting with them, trying to set up either that 15-minute phone call, a Zoom call, so forth. And I need a way I want a better calendar. There is one inside of 17 Hats, but I'm just not happy with it. So I need to be looking at how am I going to get these pieces to work together? And then if I'm going to be doing a phone call or if I'm doing a Zoom, which of the apps is the one that's linking to the Zoom or the phone and setting it up onto my calendar so it's a nice fluid process. So people aren't having to necessarily put extra information in multiple places, but I can also have it set up to where there's kind of a pay gate for certain things so you don't have people that are just trying to grab your time all the time. You want to be able to charge for your time in certain scenarios. So this is where starting to think about Zapier comes into play. And I just wanted to draw a quick attention to it. This in itself is a whole different video, so I'll probably make that as my next one. What I've done real quickly is I just went to Zapier, and I found that if you're really trying to do some research, don't log in yet. Go in, go to the website, find out what you can do for a specific app by doing a search, and then you can kind of just filter through like, okay, what are some of the automatic connections that have already been done for you? These are ones where you're not going to have the brain juice to go through and be like, I need to do this connection to that thing, so forth, to really make it efficient. And all three of these, when you know they connect to Zapier, it means you can do a whole heck of a lot of things. But I definitely recommend come into here. If you know you're using certain apps, I'll type in QuickBooks Online, of course, real quick here, and you can start to do a search of, okay, what can they do together or not? So this will really help you figure out specifically for your workflow what you need to do. So I guess all that's left at this point in time is to tell you that based on what I have now, which one am I going to go with? So before I give you that final answer, just kind of a quick recap of the things that I found about each of them, positives, negatives, so forth. So again, with Acuity, this is the one I've been using for the longest time. My favorite part about it is the fact that you can really customize the emails. You can play with the HTML so it looks just sexy. You can put your images into the emails, make it look good. You can change font sizes. You can change bolding, italic, everything else. But I really have to say, I bet you nobody even paid attention to even notice that when I was using it before. I do also like, though, that it does integrate directly to QuickBooks Online. That means I don't have to do one extra zap to try to send something over for invoice-wise. And really what I'm talking about there is if you start using your CRM and your calendar as your pay gate and it's connecting through a PayPal or whatever, well, you need a way that you can capture that invoice or that transaction to pull it into your accounting platform. So that way when the money comes through that bank feed, you can try to match it to something. Again, going deeper into that's probably a whole different video. Calendly, the thing I like about Calendly is the simplicity of it, the way it looks as embedded onto a website and somebody choosing which calendar invite that they want to use. It's just simple, easy, clean. You can remove the branding pretty quickly. It's tried, tested, proven, works great, and there's a ton of different app integrations that they work with. So from that side of it, it seems like they've really kind of moved into that area of like the standard. It's what a lot of people are using all the time. I have to say, I'm torn between Calendly and OnceHub. OnceHub, what I'm liking about them, I like their dashboard, the information that you can get from it. I like the fact that you can have 3 calendars, everything else right off the bat, even just on the free version of it. But I still will do the paid version, but I'm interested to see what can be done with that chatbot, with some of the other functionality of it. I like the fact I can put the images on the different appointments. To me, that's really important because I want to distinguish, like, this is a phone call. This is a Zoom meeting. This is we're working together. This is a paid working experience together. So with all of that said, which way am I going to go right now? At this moment, I'm leaning towards OnceHub. I'm going to set that one up, finish up the process. I'm going to go and do the paid portion of it, get it set up onto my website. And then for me with the 17 hats, the way I'm going to utilize that aspect of it, I'm going to actually just use a link to my calendar. So when certain emails go out saying, hey, why don't you book an appointment, that hyperlink will be in there. It would then go pull up the calendar to where they can book a time. What I'm also looking forward to is through social media and email, LinkedIn, everything else, that I can have like those special one-to-one or group meetings and provide people just a unique link to just go straight to a calendar. Because in those scenarios, I don't need them to go through my CRM 17 hats. So I realize this video is definitely a lot longer than my normal 15-minute or less, get in there, talk about an application, and get out real quick type video. But I wanted to do something different here and actually share the process I was going through of trying to figure out what app was I going to do by taking the time to compare 3 different applications, what I liked about them, what I don't like about them. And I'd like to find out from you, what did you think of this video? Was it helpful to you? If it was, do me a favor. Tell me which of the apps you like in the comments below. And of course, if you haven't by now, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. I'll be continuing to create more and more content. I've got some other ideas coming up pretty quick around some of the CRMs as well. And also just more workflow tips coming in the near future. So again, thank you for sticking around for this whole video. Would love to hear your thoughts about it. Like and subscribe. And most important, as always, here's wishing you all a very successful week. Thanks.